Achieving your dreams can take work.
Hey everybody, how are we doing? Looks like I've got more than one sound going on. It happens. How is everyone? Isn't that a great sound? I'll tell you what, it is just incredible. Like it a lot, as they would say. How is everyone? Don't forget, I didn't forget about ours. Yeah, kind of bringing all us into the same vibration. It's a great day. Let me just invoke favor upon everyone. Thank you for being a part of the journey and part of the conversation. Thank you, moderators. So good to see you as well. And let me get my other monitor up and running. Nothing missing, nothing be broken in our lives. Isn't that the way we want it? Hello, everybody. Big Al. Hey, Rod. Angelfish. Jack, how you doing? J.H. Armstrong, good to see you. Blanca, Eric, good to see you. Mr. David Berry, good to see you, my friend. Kay, hello, Heidi. Emperor Rex, again, hello. The Occultist, I see very well, thank you. So good to see you. Anne, hello. Gilbert, hello, my friend. Scott, good to see you. Boy, there's just a lot. Lois, how are you doing? Stephanie and Brandy, you're a fine girl. Robert, how are you doing, my friend? Charlene, hello. Michelle, hey, there's a couple of songs about you. Hey, it's Wednesday. No, it's Thursday. Time traveling. It's getting apparently much more common in what we live in. Tonight, on the Steiger Perspective, check it out over in the artistfirst.com radio network. The obituary of Sapiens Sapiens. Rest in peace. Yep. And got my favorite tea. Been trying some that some of y'all sent me. Pretty good stuff. Also, we'll be talking about the ongoing coup. We don't talk about it over on this channel because we don't want to give any cause for any reason. But anyway, so what day is it really? You know, Al, that's a good question. What day is it really? I mean, think about it. They tell us it's Thursday. I don't know if they really know. You know, it's kind of monkey see, monkey do. Isn't it so true? You know, they never walk in a new pair of shoes. No, it's the same old song that they've been banging all along. Yeah, a little poetry going there. Remember, every spell is to have a rhyme, right? Anyway, 10 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Mountain. It'll be fun. Happy birthday to those who are having one. Anniversaries as well. Hey, it's part of the journey. This world, this planet, we think it's our home. You know, I'm becoming more convinced it's not. Man, if anything, is a virus. But anyway, we'll get into that more tonight. But the implications of when we say, what is the purpose of life? What is my journey about? What am I here to do, to discover, to experience? You know, all of the above, maybe none of the above. I don't know. If it's none of the above, then I really don't know what we're doing here, because this is a strange reality. Planets are planets, but boy, this one, you know, the Earth of itself, I think it's the epitome of beauty, grace, elegance. But you add man into the equation, and it gets messed up quick, man. It really does. And I've been thinking of late, and it's something that, I go back and I listen to my mentor, Alan Watts. I'm a big fan of Alan, and Alan helps put things in a certain perspective. When I add it to my own, it's an amazing magic that takes place. And that's what happens when we listen to those who inspire us, who energize us, who encourage us, who edify us up, lift us up. And it generates an energy, a field. And it also provides many times doorways for us to get to next levels in our thoughts. I meditate a lot. I sit and I listen to my mind. I open my mind up to what is around me. Many times it's silence. The only echoes I see, because I see what I think we all do, are just the random thoughts of a process that, if I left it of its own, would make no sense, because the thoughts simply come and they go. And it's when we have to begin to focus that we find the challenge. And I ask this of the question of those that are of a different realm, if in fact such exist. I hope it does. I mean, I can tell you this, the experience coming into this reality, really, I'm glad none of us remember. I think if we actually remembered our births, I know some people say they do, and I don't know how that's physically, how you could handle that. Medical doctors will tell you, nurses that, work in delivery, you only do it once. You only come in one way, and you only have that experience once, because our bodies couldn't handle it. I mean, can you imagine? Anyway, so the question I put out there was, what is perfect? In all of my studies and all of my reads on perfection, ascension, the ultimate goal of life itself. All right. So what is perfect? My former religion taught me that I was imperfect. I had somehow fallen. Apparently not of my own doing, but nevertheless, I am guilty of such. And my third eye is really, excuse me, folks. And well, because of this fallen state, I am supposed to be sorrowful for my condition, yield my sovereignty to something I can't see, but I have been told was done for my benefit, but only on certain conditions. And if I so choose to reject it, then I'll pay a eternal consequence. Yeah. Thank you. Duct tape. Can't fix stupid, but it certainly can muffle the sound. So anyway, I digress. So I take this serious. What is the condition of my spirit being? We cover a lot of topics here. We'll continue to cover a lot of topics. We get into a lot of deep thinking that most people don't necessarily dig. That's fine. It's not everybody's cup of tea. But for those of us who enjoy the savory flavor, is something that we become very much a pursuer of, a seeker, a sojourner. So if you think about this, perfect, imperfect, the laws of nature dictate, ladies and gentlemen, that if that is in fact what is here, then we're not here. The laws of nature would cancel each other out. So let's get right into it. Got a lot to cover here. As he gets back into the bus. Would you drive the bus, sir? Here we go. So I wrote some questions putting this together. So let's go on a journey together. Let's walk together on this. Here's the question. How can what is perfect ever create, produce, or in any manner whatsoever create or produce in any manner whatsoever something imperfect? How can something be altered in any manner and still maintain its essence? Now, the laws of nature teach us that if matter is changed, altered, rearranged, reconfigured in any manner, it is no longer what it was. Doesn't exist. It has been fundamentally changed. It is not the same of what it was. So what is it? You know, I did videos. We talked about this. Are we created perfect? Are we created imperfect? Is it the goal of every spirit to reach a state of perfection? What is that? If you are not already something, if you want to become something, you must change what you are. Doesn't make sense. I mean, we're talking about sovereignty, divinity, what the essence of each of us are. Now, how can something that is imperfect ever become perfect? It's an impossibility. This would imply that what was once imperfect no longer exists or ever did exist if it can be changed into perfection. It is just as though if you take the theory that when you die, it's lights out, baby. You're gone. There's no memory of you. There's no spirit of you. Your energy is, what happens is that the down and dirty of it is this: your brain is dying and you are aware of each synaptic pop of the end of those synaptic pathways, poosh, poosh, forever obliterated. And your consciousness is aware of it until the last synaptic pathway has been obliterated by deterioration of a chemical compound due to the lack of oxygen and other nutrients. Now, that's the cold clinical's definition of death. That would be perfect because there's no ambiguity to it. So how could imperfect, let me rephrase this, how could imperfection be in perfection? They cancel each other out. There's no way they could even coexist, much less exist together. They're absolutely the antithesis of each other. But yet, spiritualism, metaphysicalism, all the Christian, all the religions all say that we're supposed to be reaching for this place of bliss of ever perfection. I think it's a myth. Well, let's go on. Love this. If God is so perfect, why did he create humans so imperfect? Now, people will go, no, he created us so perfect, when he first came out, man. Like, we were like light, man. We were made in a genetic lab. It's our problem. We are imperfect to begin with. It's the only way that we can exist. If imperfection did not exist, then we don't either. It's lights out, baby. Completely. How could a perfect God ever have imperfection exist at all? Think about this. What we've been led to believe, taught, grounded into us is that there is somehow this perfect something. And that unbeknownst to it, that, well, shit happens. Something got all messed up. It ain't my fault. I'm perfect. I don't know how it happened. And that's the story. It's repeated in every culture, every language, every belief system. But how can that be? We know in the laws of nature that if you have matter, and we see this on the quantum level, and here I demonstrated a proton, a hydrogen atom, and you can see it has one electron. And that produces what we call quarks. Antimatter would be the antithesis, the opposite. You have an antihydrogen atom with an antiproton and a positron. Not an electron, a positron. This produces antiquarks. Explain to me then, using the same laws that govern physical reality, matter, the physical universe, how could you have something that would defy this and still exist? The argument holds no foundation. To say God, gave something that even could possibly change or create something imperfect, how? It would then directly reverse and say that that which was perfect is now imperfect. The two states of consciousness can't exist in no realm of no real reality. It's impossible. Two states cannot coexist. Perfect versus imperfect. Matter versus antimatter. I mean, if the condition of perfect exists at all, it couldn't exist then in this realm of this reality. because this reality is imperfect. We have nothing that shows us what absolute perfection is. It's a myth. It's an ideal. It's a theory. Again, matter, antimatter. And these are the same principles. Hawking said this. He said, one of the basic, excuse me as I pull this down, one of the basic rules of the universe is that nothing is perfect. Perfection simply doesn't exist. Without imperfection, neither you nor I would exist. It was something that I continued was searching for. I mean, many times I can get my answers, but this one was that, well, then how am I to be defined by what is perfect? I don't know. You have to tell me. You see, it's simple math, common sense. A negative plus a negative is still going to equal a negative. So perfect, imperfect. If the two ever meet, the causality effect would set in. And that is the annihilation effect. Think about it. But it's interesting, the word, and I saw Brian, Milky Way Messenger's comment this morning. He saw this on someone's t-shirt. Imperfect actually means I am perfect. We've said this before. Let's go back to one of the first thinkers. For nature by the same cause, provided it remain in the same condition, always produces the same effect, so that either coming to be or passing away will always result. These are observations that we can make in nature. Now, to say that these laws can be violated would then that make everything that we live in a lie, a false illusion, because there are no laws that apply. That's nuts. So, which is first here? Order or disorder? It's one of those, the old Uberus again. I mean, is this a state of coexistence? Or is this a state of altered dimensions? So can a perfect God create an imperfect world? How is this even possible? And you can't say that the perfect has no responsibility. Again, if it is the creator of all things, then in it is annihilation. You see the contradictoriness of the essence of something that could even do this? It's funny how a perfect God created an imperfect world, sent a perfect so-called son to make the imperfect world more perfect, which still hasn't happened. It never will. It's why it's a myth, an illusion. Now, is there another reality, another dimension where perfect could exist? Maybe. I don't know. It can't exist in this one. This one seems to be pretty much dominant in a natural state. Everything produces of itself. Everything. So the question then becomes, is this perfect or imperfect? And if it's imperfect, then we have to begin to define, if it's even possible, what would be the perfect. You see, this gets real quick down the rabbit hole, because you're going to end up in a place that's going to be very foreign. It's in fact, it could probably right now, if you begin to think about it deeply, almost makes you dizzy. I mean, the other equation is that we're just simply replicas. Given the thought that we have, that we think we have thought, that somehow or another that we think that we have a spirit being that has a body, but in fact, all we are is manufactured bio-automatons, serving no purpose. Because if our wiring is screwed up, and you're saying, but it came perfectly off the spool, then what happened here? It's hard to define. But even we can go down onto the biological scale here. We're talking binary fission, division into two parts, daughter cells, which each daughter cell has the potential to grow to the size of the original cell, the parent cell. An example of an organism that reproduces by binary fission is the precuum. There you go. I mean, how does this even become? If there's something that is outside mitosis, then we're dealing with different laws, which it means then that maybe there is no set of laws, that our observation of thus far in our short period of time, and it's been a very short period of time, even if man had his act together and, with his so-called brilliance of today, it's a flash in the pan, baby, in the whole cosmological time. Maybe we have seen it and interpreted it wrong. So which one is imperfect? Which one is perfect? I like this. I am perfectly happy in my imperfections, happy in my pain, strong in my weakness, and beautiful in my own way, because I am me. Imperfectly perfect. So let me get out of here on this one, folks. So it, I think, makes absolutely a common point to discuss. I mean, what is perfection? It's difficult. Again, I respect Dr. Hawkins. He was probably, I don't know of another mind yet of his level. That's all the man had to do, was think within. He was a powerful, powerful soul. As he said, if perfect does exist, then folks, there's no afterlife. Now, having said that, what if, and now we're going to go, we're going to go down memory lane here. We're going to visit something that we all studied. And and it's so odd because she came up in my thoughts talking about Lilith. You know, again, if this is a warning, if for those of you who can't handle the story, then, might want to check out here, because this is more and more looks to me to be a very potential recantation of what really may have happened here. Lilith gave us her side of the story. And I do have an affection for even her essence. Now, many of you know that my family namesake is very much tied to the Liber Lilith. For those of you who don't know, distant relative over in Germany is the one who found the book. And it was it's quite the story. Anyway, he committed suicide in 1995, although he says it was not. He literally offered himself to Lilith. He is thought to have actually made physical contact with Lilith. Again, her power is beyond comprehension. We know from a lot of the discussions that John Dee was involved with this. He had a copy of the book. Much was generated when he obtained it, which it surfaced in Antwerp in 1562. Edward Kelly, who was John Dee's right-hand man, is said to have made the first contact with Lilith. In a 1584 record of a seance, which was conducted by Kelly, attending were royalty and Dee, in which Lilith apparently made a full apparition appearance. Strange book. The story of Lilith is that Lamech, who, is the line of Noah, etc., is said to have written the book that was dictated by Lilith herself. First time the book was spoken of was in the 2nd century. Origins possessed the book. Now, if you know anything about Christianity, this is a problem for Christianity. Origens was one of the founding fathers of the church, of what today we call Christianity. He possessed the book. Trismuthus is said to have the book at the time. Eusebius of Caesarea affirmed this, that Paul of Antioch was said to have possessed the book. Yes, the Apostle Paul. Origens became insane when he began to do the invocations. He stood in the middle of Alexandria at the town center and castrated himself. He said that was the only way that he could resist Lilith. We went on to show how this is very much tied all to the sons of Enoch, to the sons of Cain, to those who have been through the Hebraic, Abrahamic theologies are the accursed. Now, we know that her story was this. She was deceived. We know that, as she says, that Samuel was created incomplete, imperfect, and that since he was imperfect, everything he produced, which is God, is imperfect. Now, the story goes that when Lamech found, or however Lilith came to him, Quite interesting. It says, "Fear not, child of my womb, for I have come to comfort you in the darkness of your soul. Listen and be wise. All the seed of Cain and its seed and the seed of its seed was given unto me, even unto the seventh generation. Faithless one, you are the child of my womb, as was your father and his father before him. Deny me not. Soon the blood of your hand will prove your birth. Hearken unto me, and I will teach you wisdom that has not been spoken since the beginning." Now, do I believe that Lilith exists? Yes, I do. I happen to think that if energies do exist, this one is probably one of the more potent that I have ever come across. The story goes that Lamech could not resist. He entered into a sexual intercourse with Lilith. It is said that my distant relative, Carl Steiger, did the same thing. Actually had sexual intercourse with a spirit. We don't talk a lot about that yet. Don't think a lot of people are quite ready for that, but yeah, it's deep, folks. So as they had intercourse with Lilith, he spills his seed into Lilith's womb. Lilith instructs Lamech to write her words. And as she went on to say, she said, "Listen to the wisdom of the eons and wise and understanding, O son of blood. We are literally born in blood." We are. Crazy when you start thinking about the implications of this, folks. One of the things I knew in my Christian studies was that everything, life is in the blood. That whole religion is about blood. All religions are about blood. And if you get right down to it, then every theology, every theory, every ideology is founded in blood. We enter into a blood covenant when we're born. And that's whether it's vaginal or cesarean. Lilith leaves a scent of sandalwood. If you ever smell sandalwood, then it's most likely one of her daughters that is near. So the teaching is the God of the sons of Adam is not the highest monarch of the heavenly zones. Above him dwells one so much greater that his greatness cannot be measured. Even the name of God defiles him, for he is not a God, but a singleness of being without discontinuity. He shines with a pure light no one can see. He speaks in thunder that no one can hear him. There is none existing prior to him to limit his duration. He is ineffable and perfect, standing alone, complete unto himself. Now, this is a clue right here to the whole question about perfection. How can perfection exist? Well, Lilith taught us this. She said, no, you have to understand, not even connected. Now you say, well, then how did imperfection come in? Well, we get into that. Neither male nor female, neither large or small, neither breath nor flesh, the mind of man can never question his qualities, for he is unknowable. I mean, how can you know of something if you don't know it? He endures outside of time and encompasses duration. He is the Father of eons. He rules before and above all existences. Pearl. Isn't that interesting? Existences. He gives knowledge, but not wisdom. He gives mercy, but it is not love. The name of him is forever unspeakable, for in it are all the names and moments in the existence of all things. If ever the name of him were spoken aloud, the universe would unravel like the hem of a garment and come to an end. This is deep stuff. I mean, if you let this sink in, yeah, it's almost right up to the edge of what man is capable of even comprehending, imagining. Eternal unity gazed upon himself within himself. He was alone, and in the mirror of his radiance, this is how it began, he sent a shining seed of desire into the light and impregnated his image by an act of self-love. He still remained a virginal spirit. This one still does the number on us. All right, so give me a second here as I get there. The first birth. This is how we look at perfect, imperfect. The first power issued forth from the mind of all. She is called Bar-Belon, and her light is like the light of the invisible perfection. I don't know. I just, I marvel when I think about this. So this was the relationship. She sings songs of praise. She praised him who brought her forth out of his radiance. Now, oddly enough, this is also the same story is picked up in the book of Proverbs. She is the glory of the first thought, his image, the eternal womb that was before all other things. She is the heavenly Adam. She is the queen of the eons. She is the divine of two sexes. She is the Shekinah, from whose breast flow the milk that nourishes the worlds. Now, is this esoterically? Is this metaphorically? Is this how it really was? None of us were there. So, no. You have to admit, though, it's a different type of story. The perfect Father sent his light seed through Bar-Belon and placed within her womb a spark. In joy, Bar-Belon brought forth the spark, who is like the light of his father, but less than his father light, because no spirit can equal his greatness. He is called Autogen, the only begotten one. He was begotten of the light of the invisible presence with his own light, and he begot no others. The Father gave his only begotten Son a mind that he might know truth. He sent to him a word that his voice might echo with thunder. He anointed him with the radiant water of his own pure fountain and called him Messiah, the Anointed One. The Autogen stood before the throne of the Eon of Eons. Every power that was in the light knelt down to worship him. He saw that the light of truth shining inside him with the holy letter of the name that is exalted above every other name. Where have we heard this before? I can tell you for myself. This is right out of the book of Philippians. Well, maybe it's where Philippians got it. I mean, this book has been dated, again, dating back to nearly 500 BCE. The third birth. By the will of the autogen, from the virgin mind of pure light, came forth into being the heavenly man who is called Geradamus. The perfect spirit bestowed upon him the gift of intelligence and strength to topple mountains. They set heavenly man upon the highest of the highest eon, the eon of light, ever besides divine autogen. What has been in the world, or is to come, is foreshadowed in the length, the breadth, and the height of his measure. I tell you, it's again, I mean, every time we read this, and I if you want the book, let me know. It's a difficult read. All right, so this is where imperfection came in. Let's see how this story jives. Geradamus sang praises to the Father, from whom all things flow and to whom all things return. He sang praises to the Son, the living truth, who shines in glory before the throne. In modesty, Babylon concealed herself behind a veil of clouds. Geradamus did not know her and sang no songs in praises to the first power. Apparently, big snafu here. He didn't follow protocol. Jealous of the beauty of Geradamus, who was harmonious and imperfect in all his parts, Babylon looked in upon herself and sought her own image in the luminous mirror with the intention to create one like herself who would rival Geradamus's beauty. This is why mirror gazing, and I know it's scrying, I still like scrying. I like that. I use my word, you use your word, but nevertheless, this is where we get the first thing about what does mirror gazing do. All right. She conceived this thought in secret, lacking consent of her maleness. The Father did not approve her plan. Her wish expanded with the power of the light and became a form in the dryness of her womb. A mass issued forth that was not her image. She looked upon it in horror. The mass withered and changed into a serpent with the head of a lion. His eyes were bright stars that flashes lightning and showers glowing sparks. In shame, Babylon cast from her breast the child of her imprudent desire. So no immortal would look upon its incompleteness. She took it far from the knowledge of the deathless ones, even out of the place of eons. She made a throne and concealed it within a radiant cloud, so no one but her would find it and the location of its throne. And I wrote, could this be a black hole? You seen how the story set up? This is a great refresher from all of those who didn't go back and ever hear the whole series. The child grew strong by the power it had received from its mother. His name is Samuel, but some may call him Aldroboth. He is the first of the archons. And so I was meditating this morning, and this thought came to me. We live in an electronic world. Everything is ruled by electricity. We discovered, studying Solomon's magic, that these beings are, in fact, electric. They exist in electricity, most likely plasma, magnetism. But anyway, now we can see. So who is Samael? Well, there he is. He's the Abrahamic God. He is the Sumerian God. It is the God of all gods that man has constructed. So Mother, Babylon, and God, Samael, Lilith was made out of the substance of the prince of the archons. Samael and Lilith are one flesh. Lilith can appear male to seduce women. She is known as the slant serpent. Lilith can appear female and seduce men. She is known as the convoluted serpent. They are all one. So I'm going to stop right here. If you want to go on, there is the series itself. I think what I was bringing out in the point, and it's such, I don't know, I really enjoy the study of what Lilith brought to our consciousness. And very quickly, just to show you, this is actually the story itself. I just gave you basically the highlights to each part of this. But when you read the story, you find out that this whole reality that we're in is a reality of, well, we would call them super beings. They're of we emulate them a lot. We mimic them. But as Lilith showed, that there is this ultimate escape, but it's going to take the autogen to come back and basically reconstruct everything that this God has done. And, you know, folks, it's kind of weird because it's really, yeah, I was just reading David Barry's comment, excuse me. It really makes you think. So let me point up to something else as well. Let me get this pulled up. So we've been studying the Book of Shadows. That is not what I was wanting. I thought it was there. Let me see. It is there. Okay, I guess I'm going to have to just do this. So this is the document on Wiccan, dating back, you know, pulling records as the author has done. And I found this one was interesting. This is talking about, well, the mother goddess. Such was her beauty that Death himself knelt and kissed her feet, saying, "Blessed be thy feet that have brought thee in these ways. Abide with me, but let me place my cold hand on thy heart." She replied, "I love thee not. Why dost thou cause all things that I love and take delight in to fade and die?" Death replied, "Lady, 'tis age and fate against which I am helpless. Age causes all things to wither. But when men die at the end of time, I give them rest and peace and strength so that they may return. But thou art lovely, return not, abide with me." And this is those of you who have this, I pull this up because it's an interesting conversation of what the goddess is talking with Death. And we'll go through this maybe a little bit more when I have a little bit more time. But yeah, it's all full circle. Can you put the PDF in your description in your videos of those books? I can. And thank you for the gift. Thank you. That's all I can say. Appreciate that. Sure. If you want those, the PDFs, I'll put them in there. And the Liber Lilith is the book that I was actually used, and the PowerPoint is lengthy. It's went a long time, but I digress. It's the point that, I mean, magic. We're studying the aspects of really what magic is, I think, harmony of the four elements and beginning to understand how you can master those. There appears to be a number of higher intelligences. I was reading recently, Houdini was very much against any kind of the spiritualist movement that took place in the 20th century, early 20th century. And he said that magic is an illusion. Basically, I'm adding my own vernacular. Any fool could do it. But no one has ever been able to connect to the other side. Is that true? I mean, he offered $10,000 for anyone who could actually bring proof. I mean, we have things like the ghost box, the spirit box. We have EVPs. What are we recording? What are cameras showing? I think if Houdini lived in today, he may have changed his mind. And I contend that reality is not the same anymore. I mean, we study some of the old thoughts, but it's amazing how the old thoughts were the ones that they tried to crush out. They tried with the Liber Lilith. And again, you look at what's happened through witches, warlocks, wizards, throughout the annals of history, they've been persecuted. They've been murdered. Their possessions have been stolen. And yet, throughout history, every monarch, king, queen, president, congressman, women, senators, have all, how should we say, consorted with those in our craft. But they make the laws that also kind of put our craft into, and I'll tell you, I think the day is coming yet where, you get accused of practicing magic, you may not be on the red carpet list. So anyway, well, thank you, Big Al. This is magic. Magic is knowledge. Magic is science. It's just, we've been taught differently. Anyway, we're going to pick up tomorrow, continue in the Book of Shadows and bringing more into this. I encourage you, if you really want to go back and watch the Liber Lilith series, it's really a good one. It really is. It's, and I'll send you the book. Again, we did not cover the rituals because them be deep, man. They be deep. All right. Thank you, David Barry. Thank you all. Thank you, Lady Gray Raven. So good to see you. Appreciate all of you. So join me tonight. Listen, tonight we're going to get into I'll just say this. When you collect and collate all the information that is coming out, something's up, folks. Something's up. I do believe, and I'll get more into this tonight, I believe we are, in fact, we're in it. We're in it. And our ancestors probably feared this day that we're in, and we're living it. I'll just leave it at like that. All right. Much peace to you folks. We'll continue to study. Our power is in our own magic. That's the thing. And if you can become powerful within yourself, no matter what comes at you or us collectively, we're going to have a knowledge the masses don't possess. And the difference is we know it. They may believe it, but we know it. Trina was right when she says it. It's one thing to believe. It's a whole different story when you know it. And that's what we got going here. All right, folks, y'all are just beautiful people. I love you. Hey, we'll just have some more coffee, have some more tea. See you tonight, and I'll see you tomorrow at the same time. Bye-bye, people. Talk to you soon.